Hi, it's Mrs. Hall, and in this video I would like to give you directions for how to complete your mental illness project. So in order to find the resources that I'm going to be using, we need to go all the way down to the bottom of our Moodle page to Lesson 2.5. And under Lesson 2.5, you'll see the Mental Illness Project Guidelines and Rubrics. And in this, you'll find 3 links: the project guidelines, a verbal rubric, and a presentation rubric. So I'm going to start with the project guidelines and just go through with you what the primary guidelines are, and then I'm going to look at the rubrics with you. Feel free to save this PDF document into your Evernote by clipping it from the Evernote web clipper. But your job is to be the teacher for this mental illness that you have chosen. You're going to need to teach the other students in our class about this mental illness to the point that they'll be able to take a quiz over it. So you want to have a multimedia presentation that is not only informative but also somewhat entertaining and engaging. You want to be able to keep your audience's attention, because remember, we're going to be sitting through 12 to 15 of these after we're all finished. It'll take about a week to get through all of these. So I've got some various requirements. They will help the project to become more engaging. Having an opener to catch the attention of your audience. This could be a video, it could be a story that you tell, it could be a little pre-quiz that you give, anything that will just get the attention of your audience and get them kind of knowing what your presentation is going to be about. The things that you need to include in the presentation, they're listed here. You'll see that it says a video supplement. That could be your opener. It also says an anecdotal story. An anecdotal story is just someone's personal experience with this disorder. So that could also be a video. So you could have 3 in 1 right there. You could have your opener, your anecdotal story, and your video all as one thing. Pictures, graphics, charts, and diagrams. Yes, every slide has to have some sort of a picture on it. You shouldn't have any slides that just have words on them. I do expect you to reword the information. We've talked about that a lot in class, about making the words your own, not just copying and pasting. Even if you put quotes around it and cite it, you still want to be able to explain it. The point here is that you're sharing your knowledge and your expertise about this disorder. Students will need to be able to take notes on your presentation, so make sure that you have information that's easy to read, short. When you're creating your slides with your information, what I prefer to see is not all of your information written on the slides. I prefer to see the basic outline of your presentation on the slides, and you, when you're verbally presenting, should be elaborating on those points. In-text citations, I expect to see in-text citations on every single slide. Even if you've reworded the information, there's nothing that you are giving us that is your own idea. Everything is coming from a source of some type. So you want to make sure that if you're quoting something directly, that you put quotes around it. I shouldn't see much of that, but even the things that you've reworded needs to have in-text citations. Here's the deal. If everything on one slide comes from one source, I only need one in-text citation at the very bottom of the slide. You don't have to cite every single bullet that you put on your slides. At the end of your presentation, there needs to be a works cited, obviously, that includes all the sources that you used, and I'd also like for you to cite Google Images if that's what you're using to find your pictures. On your works cited, I expect to see at least 3 reliable or credible sources, and I have some of those linked up for you already. And they need to be not only on your works cited, but they also need to be the sources that you have actually cited in your presentation. I've had students in the past who will have 5, 6, 7 works cited entries on their last slide, but they've only cited 2 sources in their entire project. That's not appropriate. That shouldn't happen. We shouldn't see that. Everything that you have on your works cited, there should also be an in-text citation somewhere in your presentation. I have a link for you on Moodle that you can use for these sources, and I'll show you that in just a minute. You can also use our LMC webpage. We've got lots of great information there, lots of great databases. If you want to go out and do a Google search, you've got to go to those other sources first. Wikipedia is not an acceptable source. You may use that for pictures, but that's all. When it comes to citing the pictures on your presentation, you need to have in-text citations, which would simply be the URL of the picture underneath the picture, put into much smaller font. On the works cited, I am fine with you going ahead and using this Google Images works cited entry, and yours would look just like this, except you would need to change the 2012 obviously to 2014, and you would need to change your date here to whatever date it was that you accessed Google Images. And if it's a number of days, you can put 1 through 5 February 2014. On your works cited, you also want to make sure you're using MLA. Get into your handbook. These things need to be in alphabetical order. Your handbook is very clear on how to do this. I also have EasyBib, I believe it is, linked up to the front Moodle page. I'm actually going to talk about in-text citations in another video, so I'm going to skip this part for right now. Let's talk about the presentation rubric. Again, feel free to save this. I recommend you save it using the Evernote web clipper. But this is the exact rubric that I'm going to be using as I'm sitting in the back of the room watching you give your presentation. I'll be looking for all these things, and I've tried to make it as straightforward as possible. Your title slide. These are the things you need to have on here. Now, some of you might be saying, fair use guideline statement, where do I find that? I've linked it up for you. The fair use guideline statement is listed here under 2.5. It's right here, this area right here. If you copy this and paste it into the first slide, your title slide, make it nice and small. I have these on my PowerPoints. If you go back in and look at my PowerPoints, you'll see them. They're really, really small, like 4-point font on the very bottom of my title slide. So you want to have the name of the disorder, the names of all your group members, first and last names, and a picture in addition to that fair use guideline statement. Your opener, something that's interesting, something that catches the audience's attention. A one-sentence paraphrase description of the disorder, just telling your audience what this disorder is in just a real quick, brief sentence. Then you're going to move into your symptoms, the symptoms of your disorder. I would use bullets for this. It can be more than one slide if you want it to be. In fact, if you have quite a few symptoms, I would recommend that you make it more than one slide. Again, paraphrase things into your own words. Use fewer words so that you can elaborate when you start to give verbal information, when you're presenting the information. Don't rely on the PowerPoint. Rely on having your own notes up there with you to give the presentation. Make sure that you include the causes of the disorder, the treatment that is most effective for the disorder, and then any other statistics and things that you find as you're researching and looking for things that don't necessarily fit real well into these other categories. Notice that each one of these slides, each one of these categories has an in-text citation as an expectation. If you are missing an in-text citation, you are all the way down here into the 0 to 2 points category. Your graphics, your animations, the elements of your text, it's easy to read, it's logical. Your in-text citations are smaller than the information. I've given you a recommendation here, and here I've got 10 to 12 points. In parentheses, make sure that everything is easy to see, easy to read, the colors that you use, etc. Using 3 or more reliable sources, correctly citing using this MLA format, okay, alphabetical order. Google Images also cited the in-text citations are done correctly, and I'll have another video on how to do that as well. And then your spelling and grammar. Those are the primary expectations that I have. A couple other links that I have for you here. I want everyone to start in this first link where it says sources to begin researching. These sources, I have looked at all these. I just looked at them recently to make sure that they're all working. Some of them have an actual DSM, like a diagnostic manual. It's not the exact diagnostic manual, but it has information just like the DSM would have. You've got some fact sheets here. You've got places that you can do a search for your mental illness, and these are very good sources. These are the ones I expect to see. Finally, I've also taken the time to link up for a few of the groups some specific resources that I've gathered. So you're welcome to use them. Make sure that if it's coming to you through an Evernote document, which some of them are, that you go directly to the source from the Evernote document. For example, on trichotillomania, you'll see that I've got all these different things here. Go to this website instead of just using this as your source. So that should cover it for the expectations for the project. You should be ready to get started. Make sure that you're taking good notes as you are researching. Make sure that you're keeping your sources straight. I will do random source checks to make sure that the source that you claim this information came from does indeed come from that source. So make sure that you're keeping track of all those things, and feel free to simply put everything right into your PowerPoint if you want to, as long as you are citing properly and that sort of a thing. What I would do right now to start out with is simply list the source that you got the information from and be taking notes on the source and that sort of a thing, and then go into the next video that I have for you for how to cite information and how to do works cited and in-text citations, and then go ahead and go back and put your in-text citations in so that you make sure that you're doing them properly, because not until the end will you know exactly how you need to do it. All right, I wish you the best of luck and hope you have fun doing this.